Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Today, I'm going to be highlighting the Pittsburgh Steelers, the 2021 team, in our NFL team preview section today. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it here on 100 Yards of Football. So let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to go back a little bit in history time. When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, I got a lot of respect for this organization. And there was an organization that I really didn't like because growing up in Memphis, Tennessee, the 901 back in the 70s, you was either a Dallas Cowboys fan or a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And we know how some of the games ended up, especially the Super Bowls back in the 1970s, where the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Dallas Cowboys twice in that era. But when you look at the Steelers organization, it's something that's really been special. Since I've been following the Pittsburgh Steelers organization since I was 9 years old, 1969, and the reason I was following them because they took a defensive tackle out of Denton, Texas, by way of North Texas State, Joe Green. The Steelers only had three head coaches: Chuck Noll, Bill Cowell, and Mike Tomlin. That's speaking volumes about an organization that's won 6 Super Bowls. So kudos to the Steelers organization. Now let's talk about the 2021 team. Ben Roethlisberger, coming into his 18th season as the quarterback, 39 years old. So my thing to Ben Roethlisberger, is it the final call for you, Big Ben? Is it the final call? Because it's make or break this year for the Steelers. And what I'm talking about, winning the division and getting to the Super Bowl. When you look at Big Ben, and we're going to start on the offensive side of the ball, he didn't play bad last year. 3,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Over the first 9 games, he only had 4 picks. But it was the last 7 games that he threw 10 picks. And that's what really had a lot of people alarmed. And really, when you look at it throughout the National Football League, including myself, I didn't think they was going to re-sign him. But they restructured his contract, and they brought him back for this special year. When you look at on the offensive side of the ball, this year the Steelers were 24th in rushing. They really struggled at the running back position last year. They let James Conner walk. He's now in Arizona. And they said there was a lot of problems with the offensive line, up and down injuries. But to me, they didn't have that stud at the running back position because James Conner stayed nicked up. But you know what? Help is on its way. Help is on its way. It's coming out of Richmond, California. University of Alabama. Roll Tide. Najee Harris is a very special football player, bro. Very special. 3,800 yards in his career at Alabama, 46 touchdowns on the ground. But this is what I like about him. 80 receptions in his career. 781 yards, 11 touchdowns. He's one of the best running backs I'm seeing coming in the National Football League with the hands. I'll call him a poor man's Eric Dickerson, because Najee Harris was about 6'3", and ED was about 6'3" back in his days when he played with the Rams. But he's Eric Dickerson with hands. And I guarantee you the Pittsburgh Steelers running game is going to go to another level. And think about the tradition. When you think about Pittsburgh, and you kind of have to say last season was so disappointing because look at their running game over the years. Franco Harris, Jerome Bettis, Barry Foster, University of Arkansas, Pig Seward, Bam Morris. Man, then had people that can run the football. Jerome Bettis, Notre Dame, Rasheem Mendenhall, Illinois. But you know what? This young man coming from the University of Alabama, we know he's coming out of a great system. He might be the best that's ever stood foot in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization as an all-around running back. Now let's go to the receivers position. Collectively, probably the most solid as a rock group in the National Football League. Juju Smith-Schuster, USC finest, 9 touchdowns. I don't have to say no more about him. James Washington, 5 touchdowns last year. Home run threat. Deontay Johnson, boy, had 932 receiving yards last year, 7 touchdowns. But the guy that shocked everybody, Notre Dame, from the state of Canada, 6'4", 230, Chase Claypool is that warrior. Warriors come out to play, 11 touchdowns last year. The receiving group maybe be best collective receiving group that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had in their history coming into a season. Now the offensive line. Marquise Ponce retired. That's all right. But I think Kendrick Green out of the University of Illinois, Champagne's finest, is going to be a nice player at the center position. He's going to be young, but hey, I think he's going to be able to really fill the role and replacing Mr. Ponce. Then they got David DeCastro. Martin is out of Stanford is returning, 10-year veteran. And I think Zach Banner out of USC is going to take his game to another level. Now, let's go on the defensive side of the ball. This is where the Steelers are great over the years. And when you talk about the defensive side and you talk about Pittsburgh, you got to talk about Joe Green. You got to talk about L.C. Greenwood. You got to talk about Ernie Holmes, James Harrison, Joey Porter, Troy Polamalu. See, that's history there. Right now, Cameron Haywood on the D-line has been a great football player. I consider him a Hall of Famer, brother. 58 sacks on the seat, or 58 sacks in his career. And you know what? His father up in heaven, Craig Haywood, has got to be very proud. Because, Mr. Haywood, you got a very good football player that's played great in his years at Pittsburgh. Then Stephon Tuitt out of Monroe County. He in Georgia, about 60 miles from my hometown in Douglasville. He's a football player out of Notre Dame. 34 career sacks. And then, finally, the biggest acquisition that Pittsburgh has made, while their defense is going to be still strong. Help is on its way. It's coming out of L.A. by way of South Carolina. He's got 49 career sacks, 108 quarterback hits. His name is Shyness, the black man, Mr. Melvin Ingram. He is a football player. A lot of people out there in L.A. was talking about Joey Bosa, but we tend to forget about Melvin Ingram. Man, him on the D-line with Cameron Haywood and Mr. Tuitt, Pittsburgh, y'all going to be all right in the D-line. Then at the linebackers position, T.J. Watt, first team All-Pro the last 2 seasons, 29.5 sacks. Let me tell you something. T.J. Watt, he's not J.J. Watt little brother anymore. He's a player. Then Devin Bush. I'm going to be honest with you. Devin Bush coming into the league about 5'11", 225, even though his dad was a great player, first-round draft pick with the Atlanta Falcons back in the 90s. I didn't think Devin Bush would really handle the rigors of being a football player at the middle linebacker position. But in 2019, oh my God, 89 tackles. And then last year, he got out of a good start, 27 tackles, 20 ACL. That's all right, though. I think he's going to bounce back. And when you look at Devin Bush, I think he's got what I say, star potential. I think he's going to be a very fine football player. Now, let's move on to the secondary. Joe Hayden, 12-year veteran out of the University of Florida, still has it. Experience, solid, 4 INTs last year. But this is where I think Pittsburgh, even though they lost Mike Hilton in free agency, they cut Steven Nelson. But I think it's time for the young man out of the University of Tennessee, go Vols, out of Jonesboro, Georgia, out of the Metro Atlanta, Jonesboro's finest. He's a football player. It's your time, Mr. Cameron Sutton. It's your time to step on that stage. And it's your time to lock down the other side of the field. And then when the Pittsburgh goes to them sub packages, it's your time to get in the slot and take your game to another level. And I'm talking about Pro Bowl level because Cameron Sutton has that type of talent. Then the third corner, Justin Lane. This is for one of my good friends who loves Michigan State, Mr. Deshaun Tate. It's time for Mr. Justin Lane out of Michigan State. As you always tell me, Sparty, it's time for Mr. Lane to take his game to another level at the cornerback position. It's time for Sparty. Then let's go to the safety positions. Terrell Edmonds, solid, experienced, Virginia Tech's finest, is a player. But a guy who I think arguably might be the best safety in the game. Pro Bowler, first team the last 2 years. 4 INTs last year, 79 tackles. I call him the playmaker machine. And when you look at him, Mr. Fitzpatrick, yes, sir, I'm not going to call him by his first name. It's special. A guy that can play all deep to the field. And he's got what all the great safeties have. He's got what I call special talent. Can play deep field, can play in the box. But when you look at Mr. Fitzpatrick, he's always making a big-time play and taking that thing back to the house on the other side of the ball. And when you look at Mr. Fitzpatrick, man, he's special. He's the guy that's must-see TV every Sunday. Because you know, when you look at him, you're looking at greatness. And I put Mr. Fitzpatrick right now way at his career the same way I felt about Kenny Easley when he was with Seattle, out of UCLA. The same way I feel about Sean Taylor out of the U when he was at the University of Miami balling with Washington. I feel the same way when Ed Reed was doing this thing with the Baltimore Ravens out of the U. I feel the same way when Donnie Shell, Pittsburgh finest out of South Carolina State, was playing safety. Mr. Fitzpatrick has got all those skills that I like about him. When you look at the 2021 Pittsburgh Steelers, my overall view is that they're going to be a solid football team. And they got very, very good football players on both sides of the ball. A lot of people say they got a lot of players on their side of the 30. That's all right. But last time I checked, Cameron Hayward can still play. Ben Roethlisberger, even though he's 39 years old, he's an 18-year veteran, he can still play. He threw for 3,800 yards last year, 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. But the thing that's going to separate Pittsburgh is stability. They've always been stable. And it's something about the Pittsburgh way. Since I've been following this organization since 1969, they've only had 3 head coaches, 6 Super Bowls. Man, that's saying a lot about the Steelers nation. And it's saying a lot about why it's so proud to even step and wear that black and gold. And trust me, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, but I got a lot of respect for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me throw other great players out there. Tony Dungy, Hines Ward. I think I mentioned James Harrison. The list just gets long when you think about all the great players that's played and that's been stable. So this 2021 team, they're playing in a tough division. Ain't no question about it, the AFC North. But I wouldn't too much say, hey, they're not going to be stepping away. And this might be a playoff team that can get to the Super Bowl because they made the one big acquisition in the offseason. They got the young man out of Richmond, California. Coming out of a great system, the University of Alabama Roll Tide. Najee Harris, 6'3", 230 pounds. He's special, man. Grade report, vision, A+ for Mr. Harris. Power runner, A+. Run with instincts, A+. But this is what I love about him. His hands. 80 career receptions at the University of Alabama for 781 yards. So that being said, Pittsburgh is going to be very dangerous this year in the National Football League. People say they play the toughest schedule. They play 11 playoff teams. But you know what? Out of those 11 playoff teams, I would not want to play Steeler Nation. So when I think about the Pittsburgh Steelers, in my final words, it still rolls around their quarterback, Big Ben Roethlisberger. And you know that he's got a chip on his shoulder, especially when he saw his friend over there, Tom Brady, win a Super Bowl in his 40s with Tampa Bay last year. So this is my tribute to Mr. Big Ben and the Steelers Nation. It's a song that was dear to my heart in the early 70s when I was in all type of music. And I loved this band by the name of Black Sabbath. And they had a lead singer. We all know him, Ozzy Osbourne. And he had some lyrics that went like this. Have he lost his mind? Can he see or is he blind? Can he walk at all? I'm Iron Man. We want this tonight. Iron Man is here again. Big Ben and the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be exciting in 2021. Big Ben is going to be the Iron Man of the 2021 NFL football season. If you liked the video today, please come in and share it. I'm Vincent Turner here at 100 Yards of Football. And before I leave, I want to give kudos and very special thanks this morning to my producer. I call him Babyface Nelson, the youngest guy here at 100 Yards of Football. And he does a great job with our college football videos. My man, Mr. Logan Landis. Y'all enjoy the rest of the week. 100 yards of football. Vincent Turner.